Welcome to Roll for Crit. Right now we're giving you our preview of Prêt-à-Porter from Portal Games, designed by Ignacy Cevicek. It's on Kickstarter right now. This is the third edition of the game, which came out a few years back and has not been in print for a while. And they are trying to bring it back to see if people on Kickstarter, you watching this most likely, are interested in backing it. It puts you in the role of a fashion designer trying to get the best materials, the best employees, the best contracts that are available so you can have the most prestige in the fashion world.
Yes, in this game, it's really breaking into 4 rounds, pretty much a quarter of a year. You play through a year. And each quarter is breaking into 3 big rounds. The first 2 being the working round and the third round being the fashion round. So during the working rounds, what that is basically placing your worker pawns, as you can see here. You'll place 1. Then the next person gets to place 1, then the next person, until everyone has placed all 3 of their pawns. They've been distributed on the board here for examples. And then after everyone has placed their pawns, you'll actually go through all the actions. You always start with the top and go down. You can see they actually have numbers on them, make it nice. So the bank is getting out credit. This is not getting money, but sort of, it's like a loan, but a loan is something else. So it's a temporary boost to your money. It will give you that much money, but you'll have to pay it back by the end of that quarter. So you do want to be careful with that. The next 2 slots are buildings and employees. I'm going to sort of group them together because they're very similar in the sense that they are something that you buy. They give you a good, strong ability, but will, unlike the contracts, will actually increase in power as the game goes on. Buildings are the first one. You have to pay an initial cost. Then they increase your upkeep. This is pretty much your upkeep of paying salaries for employees or keeping the maintenance up in the building. And you add to the side. Now, they all give abilities, like this one says just give you a public relations token, something that's used in the exhibition phase. They can let you draw more fashion cards, maybe give you abilities without having to place a pawn there. Some really nice things. But you actually can pay a cost on either the building or the employee and flip them over. And this makes them much stronger. I think all the buildings have great when they have experienced. And that makes a stronger version of the ability. So if you can wait to pay that extra, and maybe that will give you the ability to draw 2 cards instead, or maybe make more money. They all have very strong abilities like that. Now employees, you can only have 3 on your board at a time. That's sort of the drawback to them not having to pay an initial cost. They only have an upkeep cost. But if you buy a building, the building gives an extra space, so for every building you have, you can carry another employee, which is very nice because you really want to have a full stocked group of people working behind you in order to get first place in those fashion shows. After this huge section of this very large board, we have the fashion designs. Now they come in multiple different colors, which are supposed to represent like casual, sporty, business, and they also come with you can see by the color, but also another symbol being like what type of article of clothing, whether they're shoes, a jacket. And if you put your pawn here, you are able to either draw from this lineup or from the top of the deck. It's the only way you can get them from the top of the deck. You will usually try to get full color sets, more in the same color, but to make these, you will need materials. You can see up here, they're all 2 different spools. And that's where the bottom of the board comes in. Each one is a different way to get them. One is paying as much as you want of 1 color. So if you wanted 3 black, you'd pay for 3 black, but you can't get any other color. One is you can only get 1, but you can choose a bunch of different colors. So you can get 1 yellow, 1 red, 1 green. The other is similar to the first, but it gives more of these quality tokens. And then we have our final one, which is pretty much get a token or money. Pretty simple. Once you finish upkeep, you'll enter the next round. The pattern always being 2 of those working rounds for you to prep and get ready for the show. And then the third one being the exhibition round.
This is what you've been working for, finally, after putting together all your materials that you needed to gather, getting the designs that you wanted, hiring the right people. Now is your chance to actually show off and exhibit the clothing that you've designed, theoretically. So first, everybody's going to choose certain types of cards that they have in their possession. As you go, you're going to be placing your cubes and deciding how you want to arrange these exactly. You can put together as many cards as you want as long as they are from the same style. So in this case, you would have 3. If you were actually able to build all of them, maybe you could only build 2 of them or just 1 of them. You put that many forward. Now, at a certain point, you're going to get something called prestige tokens. And if you have any of those, you won't have this in the first round of the game, but at later points, you will now trade these in for victory points. So this is a big way that you're actually going to move along this victory track right here. Once you put forward your designs, then you move over to the competition section of the board. Depending on which round it is, you're going to have a different number of contests that actually take place. These tokens will show you, and the order that they're in determines how important they are to each player. So in the first round, you're going to be just looking at one of these tokens, but you're going to be dealing with all 4, whereas in later rounds you'll have more, but maybe you're only looking at the first 2 of each token and so on. So these represent these tokens we talked about before. They're going to be getting via cards or other means. The PR token, the trends, the quality tokens, and it really just comes down to who has the most of them. Pretty simple. You go around and you award points for first place, second place, depending on number of players. Those numbers of points could change, and you will get more points for having the most of whatever's on the top, and then the second most for the second one, and so on. So that's your way to get prestige tokens as it goes. Then you get to sell off the designs that you worked so hard on. This is the amount of money that they are worth down here, and you simply trade those in, as well as the materials. You don't get to keep those either. I mean, that's what made the clothing, so that makes sense. And you will get your credits. Then there's going to be another upkeep phase. So you have to pay again, but hopefully at this point you have a lot more money from the things that you've just managed to sell off. One of the things that's going to help you determine what type of outfits that you want to choose and try to design is your special thing that you specialize in. So if you're good with shirts, you might want to try to make more shirts because you're going to get extra rewards for that. It's also going to be in your interest to have more cards in your lineup because you're going to get money equal to the value, the number of those cards, times the number of prestige tokens that you got. So that's another really good way to get ahead and get some spending money. At the end of each round, all of these cards on the board are going to be cleared off if there are any left that people didn't already take from their actions, and then 3 new ones will be flipped out. And then in the final round, there's going to be another special stack of cards that gets put out with different abilities that will be more relevant for the final phase of the game so that everyone doesn't, not care about the things that are in play. You're going to do this, as we said, over the full year, 4 quarters, and whoever has the most points at the end, which comes from, the prestige you've managed to gain over the course of the game, as well as the money that you have at the end, that player is the winner. They're the best fashion designer that there is. So this is essentially, it's a worker placement game with some set collection, maybe a little bit of engine building as well, I'd say.
A big thing of resource management.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As we said, this is actually the 3rd edition, so you can actually watch videos of the 2nd or other editions, which I did because I was curious what the differences are.
Because we ourselves never got a chance to play the original versions of it.
And one of the first ones you will obviously spot is the art. The old one was definitely very dry. Especially even the fashion. The pieces looked like something you'd see in Macy's, when this feels more like something you'd actually see more like, I guess, fashion.
But certainly more modern, I think. It pops with the kind of pastel colors.
There are a couple rules twists here as well. One, for example, is, from what I can tell, these decks were actually covered, so you didn't know it was coming up. But in this case, you can see that's coming up, and if you really wanted it, maybe you didn't want to buy anything and force someone else to buy, so that replaced something. So there's a bit more information now. This is a game where you're not supposed to really hide information.
Yeah, everything is open. What cards you have, what cubes you have, how much money you have. It's definitely a Euro game. But I think one of the things that people like about it, along with a lot of Portal's other games, really, is that there is still a very strong theme, even though it's really, it's a lot about the economics and figuring out which workers to place and how much money you can afford to spend. But if you want to, you can really embrace this idea of, this is my outfit, this is what I'm presenting, I'm a fashion designer. It really does mesh the two things together in a strong way.
It really captures the cutthroat that is the fashion industry.
Yeah. Maybe not quite all of the sinister things that go on out there.
Not as cutthroat, I guess.
But some of them.
Yeah, and it is one of these games you're thinking a lot of strategies ahead because you're going like, all right, I've got 2 green pieces which give me enough money, and maybe you're looking ahead like, because you see a card there, I'm going to get a card that lets me draw extra fashion pieces, which means I might be able to maybe not in this set because I only have 2, but maybe in the next exhibition, fashion show, which I keep calling it because I'm terrible.
It's the same thing.
I can sell 4 pieces, which is a big deal.
Yeah,
you know, some really combos like that. And there might even be strategies which, like, I might take a loan. Sure, I'm going to have to pay for that later, but by that money boost will be enough for me to make like triple what I would have made if I didn't take it.
Yeah, and deciding, of course, you know, which cards are important to take. When do they activate? How much is this going to benefit me? Because there's a lot of different, some of them give you something as soon as you get them. Some of them are only during certain phases. Some of them allow you to take versions of actions without actually placing your pawn there, which is hugely beneficial because you only have 3.
And of course, it's this like classic Euro games. It's looking at what everyone else is doing and what the board will come because you know what the contests will be rewarding. For example, in the second show, these would be the 2 challenges, which public relations is first and second. So that public relations is going to earn you a lot of prestige. So you're going to be like, all right, this is the one where I want to make sure I make a lot in that section.
Yeah, that's really, I think, where a lot of the variability comes in this game and repeat plays is how these tokens come out, as well as, of course, how these cards come out. Everything else is pretty set. You know, you're always going to know how much these materials cost, and you know which, of course, also which thing you specialize in will be different. So there's different opportunities to build engines. I think it has a lot of the, to me, familiar structure and charm of a Portal game. Just even in the way that the cards are designed, how they have sometimes multiple uses. Like you said, you can flip them over and upgrade them and change how they work, and deciding when and where to do that. And then maybe you don't win the game, but you could end up with still a lot of money with some good employees, and it definitely puts you in a space of wanting to try again and manage your money better and figure out what options are best to put together like an engine, like I was saying before.
I mean, like a lot of Portal games, he's trying to put as much as he can into the cards, which can be a little confusing at first, but once you get your head around the rules and what to do, there's a lot of really interesting, fun strategies for you to try to follow through with. And also, I think just like if you read any stories, I think it shows up in this game, how you can really just smile evilly as everyone realizes you just did a strategy that and just takes them out of the game completely.
Yeah, it's a heavy game. And I think that's part of the reason that this one maybe went out of print originally. It's a little more niche because I think it's a theme that's very like fun and accessible, but the game itself really is a hardcore heavy Euro game. So if you're one of those gamers, which I think that's why I love the Portal games, most of them, that's kind of our bread and butter sometimes, is I like the blending of those two, strong mechanics, but still not sacrificing the heavy theme as well. That's what this game is for sure. So it's, maybe don't introduce it to someone who just likes fashion and hasn't played a board game before. You do want a blend of both. And even for more experienced gamers, I think, it's relatively simple in its gameplay. I mean, like I said, worker placement, you're picking a thing, you're doing what the thing says. That's not that complicated. It's really in all the different choices and which cards come up and knowing when they're good to take or not to take and which designs you want and when and what to buy. There's a lot of depth to it, I think. So you can go find it right now on Kickstarter. We'll have a link in the description so you can see exactly what the final components will look like as well. This is pretty close to final, but I know there are going to be some tweaks to the board layout. And, of course, this is not representative of final quality, for instance. These are not the final cards or anything. So you can go take a look at all of that. And let us know in the comments if you played a previous edition of Prêt-à-Porter and if there's anything you're hoping they do with this one, or if you're just a big fan and you're just really happy that it's going to be back in print for everybody to see. And, obviously we're qualified to talk about this game too because we're so fashionable. You can see. You can see from what we're wearing right now. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Jonathan.
And I'm Will.
And this has been a Roll for Crit preview.
Never miss out by liking and subscribing. And you can also check out more on our Patreon.
We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Twitch. So follow us there.